Ever wondered what 20 of the most famous sandwiches looked like back in the day? We are setting the table to look back at the sandwiches that once were staples dishes. Here we go! To start off, the classic fried Spam sandwich. Think of fried slices of Spam with mustard or mayo between soft bread slices, and you have this sandwich ready. The Great Depression brought with it great I cannot afford takeout weeks. How did the populace cope? This sandwich was the holy grail of a USA reeling from tough inflation. This really can be as simple or complex as you'd like it to be. But traditionally, you just need bread, cheese, fried Spam, mayo, and maybe one thoroughly beaten, fluffy egg if you're feeling fancy. You can up that a few levels with your favorite hot sauces, an omelet, or some melted cheese. Slices of cold meatloaf on bread created the cold meatloaf sandwich. Sounds simple enough, right? Nailing the contrast between the different flavors at work here is actually what packs this sandwich's flavorful punch. In your preparation, take care to preserve the moisture as much as possible. Also, for the love of God, please use loaf pans. They keep your loaf so much more stable. Now you can also throw in some pork, an egg, meat of your choice, garlic, and cook it in butter to really get a meal going. Leftover meatloaf folded into a sandwich has been a USA staple probably since the days of the Founding Fathers. But don't close your mind to all you can really do with it. A Bologna salad sandwich created with Bologna mixed with pickles, onions, and mayonnaise certainly sounds like a good combo. There is some grim history attached to the sandwich, though, as it may have been used as rations for military rations in World War II during times of meat shortages. The sandwich's recipe went through a lot of changes across the decades, but traditionally there would be diced bologna, mayo, celery, and some onions. These ingredients were cost-effective and could be rationed out easily, hence the Bologna salad sandwich was a regular lunch option for many people at the time. Sliced bananas with mayo on white bread. This banana and mayonnaise sandwich is a bit of a wild card for sure, but keep an open mind because the South definitely does, which is where this interesting creation finds its origins. Typically, a lot of comfort food comes out of the southern USA. As you may have guessed, preparing this is as simple as taking candy from a toddler. Now I know what you're thinking. Bananas and mayo sounds worse than water and oil. However, there's a reason it comes into comfort food. All you need is a sliced banana, 2 slices of fresh bread, and a good spread of mayo. Maybe not the best you'll ever have, but what's the downside? Give this forgotten experiment a try and see if it's up your alley. As grim as the name might sound, peanut butter combined with mayo was quite a hit back in the day. In America, kids would often have this at 7 a.m. before school as breakfast they could easily put together. The sandwich was especially popular in the 30s to 60s as it was cheap and filling. Much like other sandwiches in the list, the peanut butter and mayo combination was also a product of the Great Depression. The mayo provided generous proteins that would pair well with fats from the peanut butter. In a time of financial instability, people found this sandwich to be a great way to ensure intake of important nutrients. As financial situations improved in America, this sandwich was replaced by newer and rather better-tasting options. Cooked chicken livers mixed with onions and spices came together to create the chicken liver sandwich. Now, out of all the ones on the list, this one has probably stood the test of time the most rigidly. You'll still find it in the odd bistro or cafe here and there. Preparing it is a bit of work, but for those who want to expand their sandwich arsenal, this is a worthy addition. You'll need celery, red onions, curry powder, salt and pepper, and lettuce of your choice. Once you've mixed your meat with your vegetables and spices, it's time to get cooking in a 350-degree skillet and mix well. Once it's all ready, assemble your sandwich and see just why this was so popular around the 1940-1960s. The creamed corn sandwich was easy and quick to make. With just some creamed corn on buttered bread, you had a good lunch ready. Now, this used to be a lunch many people would pick for their long work days, but recently it has taken a nosedive in popularity. Of course, the vegan crowd still loves it as an alternative, but only a surprisingly 0.66% restaurants offer creamed corn sandwiches on their menus. Still, let's say you're trying to watch what you eat. Any better option than a creamy corn sandwich? Maybe, but you'd be hard-pressed to find one this easy to make. All you need is spices of your choice, some veggies like tomatoes and onions, or iceberg lettuce or slightly toasted cabbage, a good spreading of creamed corn, flat loaf bread, and you'll have this delicious sandwich that has now faded into the past. A sandwich that many do not even know exists. Corned beef tongue with mustard in between fluffy bread slices. Okay, beef tongue might be way out of your palate, but don't disregard the corned beef tongue sandwich just yet. For something to fade from history, it's got to cement its spot there first, right? Can't do that if you don't bring something to the table. Perhaps this one will bring a lot more than you'd expect. It's traditionally prepared with carrots, garlic, red pepper, black pepper, salt, onions, mayo, and spice like bell pepper, paprika, and some garnishes like lime and parsley. So we already have the makings of a savory delight. You really want to keep a close eye on the beef tongue while it's in the pot, though. It can alter the flavor or dry it out fast. Though this sandwich has faded into the past now, the intricacy and delicacy through which it was created is a marvel to look back at. Maybe one day, this sandwich will come back at fancy restaurants, but for now, it remains a figment of the past. The Pimento cheese sandwich is a southern classic made with a spread of grated cheese, mayonnaise, and pimientos, typically served on white bread. This sandwich was once a staple at luncheons and picnics, but has become less common in recent times. The peak its popularity was definitely during the 20th century, mostly as a homemade snack. The conventional prep would be pimiento peppers and cheese, soft or grilled, usually cream, spread across 2 loaves of bread. It declined as a go-to snack after WW2, but the South remembers favorably the delicious pimiento sandwiches their grandmothers would whip up. Does it get any nostalgia going for you? This sandwich definitely rings some bells in the minds of Southerners, though it's hard to find places offering to create this now forgotten sandwich. The Scrapple Sandwich is exactly what the name suggests: fried slices of scrapple on bread. Traditionally, this sandwich would be sliced and prepared in a skillet, under a thick layer of eggs. It definitely became popular around the Maryland to New York district, but the recipe itself is properly ancient. An 1853 extract from a cookbook advises using pork that wouldn't be suitable for sausage. It was also popular for its health benefits. It can be made in a variety of ways, and some people include crispy cabbage on top and make it into a waffle with mayo. Mix and match and see what works best for you. Maybe you'll find something worth sharing. But for now, the Scrapple Sandwich can only be something you create. With its popularity last seen in the mid-1850s, this sandwich is something that we can only find in old extracts now. A rather repulsive combo for some and appealing taste for others. The anchovy paste sandwich is a savory spread made from anchovy paste. This is less of a sandwich and more of a versatile condiment, but it does work extremely well on sandwiches, especially because the bread balances out the anchovies' taste. Historically, anchovy paste has always been used to give flavor and some pros to your health, but in the USA, it picked steam as a spread for sandwiches. You can spice this up with fried eggplants, tomatoes, chopped chicken chunks, a salad dressing, or anything you can imagine. This is one of those sandwiches where every time you try it, you can experiment. The head cheese sandwich in basic terms is just slices of head cheese, which is a cold cut made from meat from the head of a calf or pig on bread. If you'd rather not the head, then you can also use trimmings, and in terms of assembly, this resembles more of a charcuterie board than anything else. It's packed to the brim with vegetables, spices, and other aromatics. Though still, the entire head of an animal can be a bit of a daunting task for any chef. Once you've got your bread toasted and your spread spreaded, add your spices and vegetables and the hog's head cheese and assemble accordingly. If you actually manage to pull it off, this is definitely a vintage worth getting your hands dirtier than usual. The bacon and peanut butter sandwich was one that caught our eyes the most. Crispy bacon paired with peanut butter sounded like a combination that could just work somehow. This was a no-brainer for Americans. If their left kidney is sustained by peanut butter, the right is sustained by bacon. Both together probably provide just the right amount of fuel to get through the day or a grueling 9-to-5 shift. A great condiment to go with this is unsweetened ketchup, because most ketchups today have artificial sweeteners. This isn't as popular as it used to be, but it hasn't declined enough in renown that it's that outlandish of an idea. Give it a try some weekend. You might be pleasantly surprised. Sautéed or caramelized onions provide just the right complementary flavor to the crispy bacon, while also not overloading your taste buds because of the peanut butter. The mock ham salad sandwich was a popular sandwich that people chose to make when they had every ingredient but ham in their fridge. The sandwich was a perfect mix for when people had leftovers in the past. Using some mayo, boiled eggs, and pickles with the right seasoning was paired up with ingredients they scavenged from the back of their freezer to create a mock ham salad sandwich. The recipe was as simple as that, which made it a go-to sandwich for people looking to empty their fridge. As time passed, the need for having mock ham instead of real ham lowered. With less and less people creating this sandwich, like all the sandwiches on this list, it faded into history. But the simple nature of the recipe allowed for the method of making this sandwich to be preserved for future sandwich enthusiasts to see. The egg and sardine sandwich was an odd mix of hard-boiled eggs mashed with sardines. The sandwich was most popular from 1923 to the 1950s, when sardine alternatives like turkey, bacon, and Bologna were not popular. Sardines were affordable, and so the sardine and egg sandwich was a go-to choice for many. The recipe was simple, and easily accessible ingredients were used to create this sandwich. All you needed was 2 nice fluffy eggs whisked until thick if you don't prefer them hard-boiled, and sardines over toasted bread. People would often spice it up with their own choice of vegetables and sauces. Some would even chop up sardines, season them with spices, and dice the eggs with melted cheese to create a combo that sounds a bit outrageous but might be better than you'd think. The sandwich disappeared when the alternatives to sardines became affordable to the common man. The deviled ham sandwich is a spicy minced ham spread that had some real glory days in the 1860s, but went down in popularity as taste palates changed and sandwiches became more of a fast food-centric meal. This homemade, high-effort sandwich had its fame downfall. Barely seen or talked about today, the deviled ham sandwich was prepared using ingredients like egg yolks, citrusy lemon juice, generous sprinkles of black pepper, and mustard. The ham you use depends on you, and as long as it's properly cured, it shouldn't make much of a difference. One of the fancier ways to serve it was an open-faced sandwich topped with a poached egg. The modern version of the sandwich can be spun 100 different ways. Most tend to opt for additional spices, though. What would your take be on this vintage sandwich? The potted meat sandwich was a spread made from various meats cooked until very soft. This gained a lot of popularity before refrigerators were commonplace. People would place the meat of animals in cooled pots. Naturally, this went way down in popularity after more accessible and widespread methods of preserving meat and food were available to the general public. Still, if you're in the mood for a quick snack, it's a pretty good option. If there's any takeaway from this list, it's that history has some real convenient solutions to keep note of. All you need here is 2 slices of bread, your condiment of choice, a can of potted meat, and then a nice thick spread. If you go back to its actual historic heyday, then we'd be taking the conversation back several centuries, but keeping it relevant to this one, this is the perfect sandwich to make when you're rushing to work and can't get a full breakfast in. The cheese and marmite sandwich is a rather confusing mix of ingredients with cheese slices and marmite spread coming together to create a gooey sandwich. It's got an extremely memorable kick to it with its yeasty, savory, and salty notes. Now, this was really popular in the 50s, 80s, especially among the middle class and the 30-40-year-old age group. Conventional way to make it is definitely the easiest: toast, marmite spread, and melted cheese. Remember, fundamentally, this is not that different from your average grilled cheese sandwich. In fact, it's pretty much the same, just switching the ingredients around a little. Do be warned though, marmite is a dense, pungent tasting thing. It has a strong flavor, so try just a tablespoon or 2 before you go all in and start spreading crazily. Mock chicken sandwich was another classic from the infamous era of the Great Depression. It was a pretty popular sandwich considering you could find it in 8 out of 10 households, though probably not for the reasons you're thinking. It is mock chicken after all, and since meat was a lot more expensive back then, households came up with a trick recipe to create mock chicken. The recipe started showing up in cookbooks in the 1920s, which helped boost its popularity amongst people. The recipe was simple: an onion, a tomato, egg, butter, and some herbs like oregano, parsley, and basil. You'd cook the tomatoes and onions together, then add butter, beating this combination together until you get a meatish consistency, one that was akin to chicken. This would be assembled in a sandwich to give people the taste of chicken without using any meat. The chicken and cranberry sandwich is as classic as it gets. This was really popular back in the early 1900s, when cranberries were a trendy ingredient for your sandwiches. And today? You may not find it anywhere in restaurants or households, but it's still a great way to get rid of leftover chicken without wasting it. Typically, this classic sandwich was made with whatever you had available in your kitchen. The basic ingredients would look like mayo, garlic powder, onions, chicken. For the dressing, people would use Dijon mustard. This, paired with a seasoned chicken breast and leftover cranberry sauce, would create a perfect messy sandwich. With the rise of fast food chains and newer sandwiches created using cold cuts, the chicken and cranberry sandwich faded into history. It truly was a cost-effective meal for people suffering from the perils of the economy in the 1950s. Did these sandwiches make you want to cook up a sandwich for yourself? Let us know in the comments, and if you liked the video, be sure to give it a like and hit that subscribe button.